Welcome everybody. This is Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Call. It is October 14th. We're on this. How would I put this? On the last quarter of this calendar year, pretty far already actually. And Christmas is soon. So get ready for that. But on this call, we're always going to talk about the latest and greatest on the Microsoft side of the house. So we basically have the product managers, cloud advocates, engineers talking how the products are being built or how they're intended to be used and what are the latest capabilities within the product. We do have a lot of other calls as well, which we're going to talk about in a second. My name is Esa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft side and your host today. Now, we're going to do latest news and updates on Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, just recapping all of the different links and events and everything else, what is happening. Some of those links might be familiar for you, but there's always new people in this course. So we want to make sure that the new people are aware of all of this massive amount of assets which we have available to get started within Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. We're also going to do a recap on all of the news within Microsoft Blogs and then a group picture with Together mode. And today, David's going to run, and that's true because I'm actually traveling for those who are joining a bit late. And then we move into the actual stars of the day. So we have Steve and Reid to talk about the latest on SharePoint Embedded. So really cool capabilities happening on that side as well. And then Derah is going to talk about automating decision making with AI approvals in Microsoft Copilot Studio. Really cool setup of things. Both of the demos will talk about Copilot and agents and all of that stuff for sure, because that is always a big part of SharePoint Embedded story as well. Now, quick recap on all of the different assets which we have available for you to get started on Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. First of all of these community calls are getting recorded. All of the demos are getting recorded and published within our YouTube channel at Microsoft Community YouTube Learning. You want to subscribe there today. We do publish a lot of content. We do acknowledge that one, but that's also because we are generating a lot of content. So rather than aligning on the YouTube algorithm optimization, we want to actually share all of this awesomeness which you actually help us to generate. So thank you for that. We also have a LinkedIn page and group for discussions and updates. We do have a lot of open source assets available in multiple locations in a GitHub organizations. But as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you, we also have our sample galleries, and especially our unified sample gallery is a great location to find all of the relevant samples from Microsoft and from community in a one centralized location. So you don't have to worry about where exactly the cool demos are. You go to this one location, search, that's it. There's a lot of assets and URLs to remember. You can go to AKMS Community Home or the Community MS URLs to actually access those assets as well. Now, I did mention already, we do have a lot of different community calls which are available for you to join. Technically, we have two models where we have at least two community calls every single week. And those are the Tuesday call, which is this call today, which is Microsoft 365 Power Platform community updates with Microsoft speakers. And then our Thursday series is happening always at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And that's Microsoft 365 Power Platform with community. So we are merging that SharePoint framework call directly to that one call, just making it easier to understand that every single week, 8 a.m. Tuesday, 7 a.m. Thursday, we have community calls, and both of them have different demos. One for community demos, one for the one for the Microsoft demos, one for the community demos. I have no idea what I'm actually clearly saying. I'm talking way too much and too fast, so I need to slow down. Here we go. Power Platform community call happens once a month. Thank you, Stephanie. I saw that video. Power Platform community call happens once a month. This happens this week. So with 8 a.m. tomorrow, we do have a Power Platform community call with 3 really cool community demos coming up there as well. So a lot of calls. And then Office Add-ins is happening once a month with a Microsoft demo. So Office Add-in product managers are showcasing the latest on that side as well. A lot of calls. You can find all of the recurrent invites at the AKMS community calls URL. And then our meetup service is a great service to stay up to date on the agendas advance. So you can already today go to the meetup service and double check what is the meetup and agenda for tomorrow's call and Thursday's call. And then typically on Thursday, we always publish the next week's calls agendas advance. So you already know, do you want to prioritize your time for these calls, or do you want to maybe check them as a recording afterwards? Now, for a lot of these calls, we do welcome community presenters. Easiest way to sign up is go AKMS Community Request Demo, and then we'll contact you to get you scheduled on the next suitable call. Right now, we do have a massive demand for these demos, which is thank you for signing up. But if I now remember correctly, the situation, we were just checking this with Luisa Fries yesterday, we are fully booked on the community demo slots until end of the year, which is mind-boggling. So thank you for everybody for signing up on things. We need to figure out on maybe we need to start having even more calls. So we provide people an opportunity to present what are the goodies, what they're actually building in Microsoft 365 and community. But we do welcome you to sign up, and we'll get you scheduled in a next suitable location. And there might be cancellations, so don't worry about signing up. We'll get you then scheduled whenever the next slot is available. We do have a lot of assets available in learn.microsoft.com, starting with Microsoft 365 on Power Platform. Great opportunity to get free training. This is all free, provided for you by Microsoft. We also have already mentioned our sample gallery. This beautiful location, all of the samples from Microsoft or from a community in a one centralized location. And you can see it's easily filtered down based on the sample topic and what is it actually all about, and find the relevant sample for you. So great location for taking advantage as well. Now, we also have an MCP server for that sample gallery data. So if you want to play around within a GitHub Copilot, or if you want to play around with Copilot Studio with that MCP server, that is available for you to also take advantage. Now, when you find the sample, or you might be wondering that, wait a minute, I have this cool sample. How would I contribute in these locations? We actually have our awesome Sharing is Caring initiative to helping you to get started. And directly from LA, we have David Warner talking about what is Sharing is Caring initiative and what does it mean?
Yes, thank you, Vesa. Live from this rainy Los Angeles day. It's our one day of the year, everybody, so I'm enjoying it. Yes, what is Sharing is Caring? It is a program that provides hands-on guidance. In fact, we just had an amazing session yesterday. Congratulations to all those attendees who contributed for the very first time. They're going to be earning a badge. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But Sharing is Caring is here to provide you that hands-on experience in a safe space, which means that when we join these live Teams calls, we'll explain all of those confusing terms like pull request and fork and blame and raw, what those GitHub-isms mean. We'll demystify that GitHub hubs, that hub of Gits, and it will no longer be a confusing labyrinth for you. It is live, it is hands-on, and as I mentioned, it is safe space, which means that we do not record it. So you're safe to ask any and all questions without the fear of, well, no one else is asking this question and we're recording, so I don't want to ask this question. Nope, we want you to ask all the questions, every question, because we're there to learn together. We are going to be scheduling the next one coming up here in November, so be on the lookout for that. The other one, like I said, just finished yesterday. It was awesome, so please do keep an eye out. We'll get that updated this week. And because it is a contribution that you actually make, it is important to know that you are going to get recognized, and that's where our recognition program comes in. This is a wonderful recognition program made best in class because of all of you. Credly has named it best in class, not just us. We always knew you were best in class. And we've got these fun new badges coming up here. It's middle of October, so we are in the midst of Oktoberfest. We've already started to see those go out. We're still in superhero season, so you get that bonus badge. The Porcupine Rises that is still coming into view here as PowerPoint slows down. And we've also got Oktoberfest, there we go, and we've got Back to the Community and 1.21 Gigabit Contributor. Those are bonus badges that are going to be available for the rest of the year. So super exciting. It's a lot of fun, but these are real and accredited. And why does that matter? Because you want to show that you are contributing in a way that perhaps maybe your managers will appreciate or your clients will appreciate. You're plugged in, connected, and you're assisting with the feature progression and the adoption of technology. So it really sets you apart. These are great ways to showcase that. So it is free. We cover all the costs. Just need to opt in, ak.ms/community/recognition. We'll track all the amazing work you're doing. Vesa, back to you in the community.
Excellent,
Finland,
thank you.
into the community.
Yeah, that's fun. Yes, not Helsinki this time. This is actually eastern part of Finland this time because I'm, again, traveling on a family thing this week. But it's okay. We are still here for the community because we're always here for the community. Right, David?
That's right.
Excellent. Now, quick recap on the events. So TechCon 365 Dallas is coming in November 3rd to 7th, and then Atlanta is coming in March 16 to 20, also known as the FabCon on that side. So focusing on more on the Fabric side of the house. But check out TechCon365.com for more details on that. Now, Power Platform Community Call is coming pretty soon in Las Vegas in October 28th. So that is happening within 2 weeks. So really, really an awesome event coming up. the other people in the Power Platform. Then Ignite is happening in November 18th to 20th, and this is a hybrid setup, so you don't have to be in San Francisco. You can be in San Francisco in person, but you can also join and watch all of these recordings and sessions, and live sessions even, live from the ignite.microsoft.com website. When you register, you are able to sign up for the things. And then early December, 1st to 4th of December, we do have a European SharePoint conference coming up at Dublin. Brilliant venue. We've been there in the past as well. Looking forward on that as well at SharePointEurope.com. More details on that one as well. Now, on Spring ECS 2026, it has been already announced the 5th to 7th of May, and that's happening in Cologne, Germany. That's 15 minutes from the Düsseldorf airport, so it's a really easy location to go into, and they're looking into having more than 3,000 attendees again. This year, we had more than 3,000 attendees also in ECS 2025. Next year, even more than that. It is a bigger venue, so it's going to look really, really cool as well. Other than that, a lot of different events happening all around the world, different events, South Africa, US, Dubai, all of that stuff. And so communitydays.org is the location where you want to go. And right now, today, actually, there was the announcement in the Microsoft community LinkedIn message that it is now 3 years since the communitydays.org has existed. So congratulations for everybody behind of that. Great location to get your events listed. And also, more importantly, knowing all of the events which are happening all around the world where you can meet other people in the community. Now, quick recap on the news from Microsoft. We didn't actually have that many news. It's a really quiet period of time, but few news from the Microsoft 365 and Teams side and Viva side, and then a few updates on the Power Platform side. Thank you, David, for sharing those within the chat as well. And of course, if you're watching the recording of this video, you can find all of these news directly in the description of this video recording. Now, we also do always remind everybody on our awesome Copilot prompt library collection. This is a great GitHub initiative, which is a contribution as well. So you're able to contribute your Copilot prompts. What are you using? And we can learn from each other super easily by sharing those learnings directly within a GitHub. And we also always celebrate the Copilot prompt of the week. And this week, the prompt of the week is coming from Roger, and it is actually focusing more on the business process description and obviously then calling out and asking the Copilot to figure out on, hey, am I missing something? What should I actually call out related on risks, or am I missing some other obvious opportunities around this documentation or the plan? And then Copilot can suggest on things what you should be looking into. Really great example on showcasing the power of the Copilot as well. Awesome stuff. Good. And then one more reminder, we did announce this in the social media and Power Platform side. Yesterday, was it, or Friday already, Power Platform Community Conference will have a tryout for Guinness Records as a agent hack, the biggest agent hack within the world. We're looking into having over 2,000 developers building more than 100 agent-driven solutions in a 1 day within 5 hours, happening on 29th of October. Now, if you haven't signed up and you're looking into signing up for the Power Platform Conference, when you sign up, there is a checkbox to actually do or indicate your interest on joining here. If you have already signed up, there's going to be other ways of you signing up for the event as well. So really great opportunity. If you are in Las Vegas within 2 weeks, don't miss out from this awesome event to make a world record, a Guinness World Record. Really cool. But I guess then it's time to go to the picture time. And since I'm traveling, I'm going to let David actually help me to get him a picture. Let's switch the scene. Let's not do, David, the typical setup. Let's do something else this time again.
All right. Okay. You tell me what you want, Vesa. I'm here to please.
Let's do the green one. Green is good. Green is
green. Okay. All right.
Waiting for everybody as well. So.
All right. Well, why in the world now? It's not letting me. Let me see. Change the scene now.
Frozen fingers.
I don't know where to go. I don't know where it went to change the scene. Did they move it again?
It's in the scenes on the first button on the toolbar. Yes, they keep on
scenes.
moving.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you want the outdoorsy one is what you want.
Outdoorsy one is the one. Yes.
All right. Here we go. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Everybody's looking good. This is almost outdoors. All right. Looking good. I see some cameras. I see some full faces. Excellent. So we are doing good on time. I see Don is getting the dance going on. Ian's dancing. All right. I see April. We have time. Excellent. If anybody wants just another second or two to get that camera going. All right. I see a couple more popping in. All right. Let's get the countdown going on. 3 and 2 and 1. Woo. Great to see you all. Again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Amazing work. Really appreciate it.
Oh my God.
All right. Giant hand coming for me. No. All right. It's going to cut us. All right. Okay. All right. Great. Back to you, Vesa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We'll take back on the presentation. And that's going to be a really quick one from my side. So let's actually just recap on what's happening next. So let me go in here and move one more time forward. So the real stars of today are Steve and Reid, and they're going to start with the latest on SharePoint Embedded, and then right after them directly we'll transition to Derah talking about the Copilot Studio, AI approvals. But Reid and Steve, I can see you on a call. You can share the screen and take it away.
All right, what's up? So I'm gonna attempt to match some of the energy here. Like every time I come on this call, I'm like, how are they this energetic? It is impressive. So there's 3 of us today, actually. So my bad for not including James in the email to Vesa. So sorry about that. So I'm here. I'm a product manager. Steve, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening. Steve Pucelik, product manager for SharePoint Embedded.
And these are some of our LinkedIn's. And James, are you on? Do you want to jump on camera and introduce yourself?
I'm James. Can you hear me?
There he is. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm James. I'm a colleague of Reid and Steve's, more on the customer focus side, working with SharePoint Embedded.
Yeah, so these are, I think I said these are all of our LinkedIn's, but anyway, so James, he undersells himself a little bit. He's got this magic where he helps these giant organizations adopt SharePoint Embedded. It is truly impressive. Steve is a lot of times helping people who are kind of answering that initial question of what is SharePoint Embedded, and I come in and create elk-themed presentations for large community events like this one. The elk will be on in just a second. I hope you enjoy it. So we do have a few more people who actually help with us on the go-to-market side, and it's actually very exciting. You know, Steve, James, and I have been working on SharePoint Embedded since before we actually had a product. So it's really nice now. We have a product. The product is successful in market, and it's doing some interesting things at global organizations. And now we have our Content Services Global Black Belt. So if you work for a larger organization and you're interested in having a larger conversation, you're always welcome to talk to Steve, James, myself, but we also have people on the sales team who are hyper-focused on SharePoint Embedded, which is great. Now, SharePoint Embedded is an API-only version of SharePoint. It's specifically designed for apps. It works both with third-party ISV apps and any line of business apps that a company might develop internally. It is the document management features of SharePoint. And so the whole idea is that if you are working with an app that manages documents in some way, you probably still want to have the M365 capabilities. We call these the 4 C's, right? So these are Copilot, collaboration, compliance, and core storage. I don't love the name core storage, but I came up with it and I haven't come up with a better one. So if anyone on the chat comes up with a better name for kind of that collection of features, which is all about, hey, we keep documents really securely inside a trust boundary and they don't go away. Let me know what that is, right? Now, if you want to get started, we have comprehensive Learn documentation that you can take a look at. And there's a bunch more resources here at the end that I'm going to also make sure that you have. Now, when I talk about delivering M365 features, we round it down to the 4 C's, but there's actually a ton of features in here. So if you are, on the call here, I'm going to imagine that you're pretty well versed in Microsoft 365, and you might say, well, what about full desktop support for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint? And the good news is that we do offer that. So if you're building a custom app and you want to make sure that your collaboration experience mirrors what users get when documents are stored inside SharePoint Online, you can store it inside SharePoint Embedded, and you get all of this as part of your app as well. Now, it's not obviously just full desktop support. When we talk about Copilot, We're going to show you a bunch of that today. So it is, full inclusion in the semantic index for Copilot users. If you're an E3 or an E5 licensee and you're, have some of these advanced security features, those all apply to documents which are stored in SharePoint embedded. And of course, it has all the integrated search and tied into Microsoft 365 Archive, et cetera, et cetera. So there's just a ton of capabilities. If you are building an app and you have to work with documents, SharePoint embedded is something we should talk about. Now, the question that we usually get, when should I use SharePoint embedded? When should I use SharePoint online? And what we've discovered as we talk with customers around the world is there are 4 leading indicators for when you should consider SharePoint embedded. Now, we often get this question of, well, what if I want to build it in SharePoint online anyway? It's fine, right? If you want to build it in SharePoint Online and you can build it in SharePoint Online, build it in SharePoint Online. SharePoint Online is a great platform. SharePoint Embedded, though, if you think about it, there are 4 different things that really lend itself to this. And so number 1 is this notion of separation of concerns. So if you have a large, mission-critical, API-intensive app that you want to manage in its own stack for resource allocation and functionally its own stack for a whole variety of things, separation of concerns is typically a reason why you would consider SharePoint embedded. So for example, we have one customer who is running a multi-billion-dollar line of business app. It manages a huge amount of revenue for them. And they have chosen to actually migrate that to SharePoint embedded because they like that independence. It gives them that architectural principle that really makes a difference to them. So that's number 1. Number 2, you might want to use this new thing that SharePoint Embedded offers called file storage containers. This is something brand new that is not something that's part of SharePoint Online, but it is a very lightweight way of working with something that stores files and documents. You can instantiate them in code. So if you're a developer on the call today, this is very developer friendly. It's designed to be instantiated, security stamped, populated, and garbage collected in real time. And so you can do all of those things in code via your app. You can also have many of them. There are many of these which are available. So the typical number that we talk about is 100,000 is kind of the limit. Fun fact, that is not enforced in code anyplace. But it is kind of where we want to talk to you just in case and see where your information architecture is headed. We have customers who are regularly coming to us and saying, Cortainer. Oh, now I'm worried that I spelled it wrong, Tim. You got me all distracted. But anyway, so you can have many of these, and because they're lightweight and because you can have many of them, you can use them to model your business, right? And so if you're a legal company and you want to model around legal matters, you can do that. If you're a tax or an audit company and you want to model around customer engagements, very friendly to do that. Project management, you can model around project. You get the idea. Now, the third one here is it's important to note that these file storage containers are inside your M365 tenant, but they're outside of your site collection hierarchy. They're not part of SharePoint Online. There is no permissions inheritance that comes with these. When you instantiate a file storage container, nobody but the app has access to it. And so the app then has full control over stamping permissions on it. And so when you instantiate one of these containers, you can be confident that it's not inheriting from anything. And it's definitely something that you are controlling completely with your app. And then the last one is when you want to have a custom user experience. Now, if you've done a lot of app development inside SharePoint Online, you know that you can create a custom user experience and it's got a lot of flexibility. But there's a different level when you're creating either an ISV app or you're creating a major line of business app. And SharePoint Embedded lets you do that and not have it be part of SPO and not have it be somehow browsable from the SPO user experience. And so those are kind of the 4 criteria. And I want to just pause for a second because I know Steve and James, you've had some chances to think about these and talk about these. Is there anything you want to add to what we've said as you've talked to customers?
Yeah, Reid, there's a good discussion going in the chat window regarding, SharePoint Embedded versus Blob, right? Azure Blob, SharePoint Online, things like that. And what we're really seeing here is exactly what you mentioned, is the ability for SharePoint Embedded to have that isolated experience, right? Isolated experience within your application, control the permissions. But hey, let's not forget about all those E3 add-on E5 investments that you made too, right? Purview integration, native to SharePoint Embedded. Audit logging, native to SharePoint Embedded. Copilot, native to SharePoint Embedded. Entra, native to SharePoint Embedded. You get the idea. So
Yeah.
really good emphasis there. Bring your app, put whatever you want on top of it. SharePoint Embedded right there for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, also, one of the things that we have is we frequently get this question about SharePoint Embedded versus Azure Blob Store. So Azure Blob Store is a great service. And in fact, SharePoint Online is built on top of Azure Blob Store. This is something that we're pretty open about. But one of the things that happens is when you build your own system that's built on top of Azure Blob Store, the first thing you usually are going to come to you with is, hey, the collaboration experience kind of sucks, right? Because it's not built into the same ways of doing SharePoint Online collaboration. And so that's a good indicator that SharePoint Embedded might be the right choice for you. Now, we do see 3 common SPE patterns, and I noticed there was a question here about doc integration in D365, so you're going to be happy about this first one. We do see people using SPE with these large SaaS apps, whether that's Dynamics or Salesforce or ServiceNow. It's very easy to build a SharePoint embedded application that the permissions map very cleanly from these large SaaS apps, and then you can have a very focused file storage container with just related documents. And so we've seen that with Dynamics, Salesforce, and ServiceNow, like it says in here. So it's very easy to work with. A second one that we're seeing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the demo today, is this curation of gold standard documents for RAG and agent use. This is definitely something which is out there. We're starting to see this. We've been public with Thomson Reuters, for example. They're using with this with their CoCounsel product. It's a pretty exciting way of working with curated data to produce high-quality AI-generated output. And then the last one here, of course, is this specialty line of business or ISV app integration. If you're building an app and you have a document management roadmap as part of it, you can spend a whole lot of time actually building this out, or you can go ahead and just use SharePoint Embedded, and we have all of the M365 capabilities that you're used to. Now, there's a couple of things that I always want to keep in mind, right, is the documents are always inside the M365 trust boundary, the compliance boundary. Very easy to interact with Copilot, search, purview, etc. And so when you're using SharePoint Embedded, you get all of these options. You bring all of this optionality to whatever app you're developing. Okay, so we have a quick demo, and this demo is actually a preview of some of the stuff we're going to talk about in our Ignite session. So if you're going to Ignite in San Francisco, we'll be there, and we have a session that's called Build Fast, Scale Smart, Supercharge Copilot with SharePoint Embedded, and so that's really what I'm going to focus on today. So we're going to pop out of this. We're going to come over to my trusty browser. And if you've been on one of these calls before, you might have seen this demo app. It's not different. I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. And you don't want to concentrate too much on the app because the app itself is really just a showcase for being able to look at documents. And so you can see I have these file storage containers right here. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to open up economic history. And you can see that I now have this one-click collaboration experience, right? This is one of the huge things that sets us apart from other things like Azure Blob Store. So I'll go ahead and actually I'm going to say hello 1014, right? And then you'll see this saving up here, right? This is just like you would see with any regular Microsoft 365 app. I'll close that. And now when we open it back up, of course, you'll see that everything has saved just like you wanted. So anyway, that's usually why people are coming to us at first, but there's a bunch of other stuff you can do. So for example, we have this ability to do a custom chat experience for just this app, which looks very much like the regular Copilot experience. Hang on, I think I lost my thing. Can you tell me about banks? Now I happen to have a lot of information on banks in here. And you can see it's doing kind of the Copilot dance that you would expect. and it's going to go through and tell us a lot about these banks, right? And so what we've been doing is we've been showing you, just some of the basics of SharePoint Embedded, and I can actually go in here and show you a ton, right? That's not really what we're going to do in this demo, though. So if you do want more of that, reach out to us. You can put it in here in the chat, and we'll follow up, or there's an email address I'll show you at the end. But you get the idea, right? So if I now click on this, it's going to take me straight over to the web app for PowerPoint, and I'm editing just like I normally would, right? And so that works from search, it works from Copilot, it works from this SPE agent that we're showing. But what I want to do now is I want to pop over to this Copilot demo, right? And I'm just going to go into chat, because the really exciting thing about storing things in SharePoint Embedded is that you are storing things inside your M365 tenant, which means you have the ability to expose them through this kind of single pane of glass. So if we come in here and say, hey, what do we know about First Chicago Bank, since that was the first one on there? I'll put bank on. It's now going to go through and it's going to look through everything in the tenant that I have access to, right? So this is obviously all security trimmed. And so it's going to take a second while it's churning through the data. But what you're going to see is it's now going to come up and it's going to actually start to show the same data, right? So you have this custom app, this Reid demo that's out here, and it has some information in it, which you can see is coming up right here, and it's doing the same thing. So now, whether or not you're using OneDrive or SharePoint, or you're using a custom app, or you're using a third-party ISV app, you can start to see it in here. And so here, I'm just going to click on this so you can see that we're going to the same presentation that we did. Yes, this is my third grade presentation on the history of First Chicago National Bank. You can see I didn't put a lot of effort into making it fancy, but you get the idea. Now, what I'm really excited about is I always talk about Copilot 6 ways, right? So I'm going to go to the apps section, and I'm actually going to go and show you another way. And so when you are using SharePoint Embedded, you are fully integrated into the Copilot ecosystem. And so that includes the in-app Copilot that you would have in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So all I'm doing is I'm starting up the regular Copilot, and I can say, hey, can you give, this is so slow. I'm just going to use voice. Hey, can you give me some history on First Chicago National Bank, please? So if you haven't used Windows H, or you haven't done the microphone, on your Mac here to just, work with Copilot via voice, you're missing out. It is saving my fingers tons and tons of typing. So you can see here, we have now the exact same thing, and we can now bring this data into whatever document that we might want to be working on. So we've been going through this, and I'm actually very excited about the way this is coming together. But what I want to do now is go back to the presentation, right? So what we've done is we've shown you the custom SharePoint Embedded agent. We've showed you the basics of SharePoint Embedded working with documents and file storage containers. We've showed you accessing that data in the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat, and we've shown you accessing that data inside Copilots that are app specific, which is pretty cool. So the way that you should think about this is all about how you're working with different apps. So, I did promise an elk themed presentation. So you'll notice that the user here is represented by Spelk the elk. I have a lot of elk in my yard. Okay, so our user, Spelk over here, is using Copilot, as well as all of the Copilots that are embedded inside the various apps. And now, because of how Spelk is doing this, Spelk can access OneDrive, SharePoint, my fancy reiddemo.com, right, that I just put together. We also work with mFiles. So mFiles is a third-party ISV that is using SharePoint Embedded to power their document management app. We work with AvePoint. AvePoint has a great app out there called Confide. It's actually Confide version 2, powered by SharePoint Embedded. And in all cases, when you are working with these apps and you're working with Copilot, Copilot only shows you data that you, the user, Spelk in this case, have access to, right? So this is an incredible innovation when you think about it. You know, you're going from this idea of, okay, my documents are all over the place, to my documents are all in Microsoft 365. I can use all of the collaboration apps that I want to. I can use Microsoft 365 Search. I can have Copilot do the work for me. You end up with this very powerful solution. So when we talk about this notion of supercharging Copilot, that's what we mean. Okay, so there's a core thing that's actually very important. That's the end of the demo, by the way. I see there's a bunch of questions, and thank you, Steve and James, for keeping up in here. When you are dealing with an app and you're in development mode, right? Chances are good that you're going to be using a fair number of API calls. I'm going to assume that we have a mix of developers and admins and interested parties on here. So not everybody works with API calls every day. But if you're a developer and you're working with API calls with any cloud service, you have to know how much you're entitled to call. In SharePoint Online, we have this allocation on the left, and it's all based on the number of users that you are licensed for with Microsoft 365. And you can see that the highest it goes is 6,000 resource units per minute per tenant. SharePoint Embedded is built on a different model. Because it's an Azure service, we are able to actually model it in a whole different way. And so instead of being based on users, you have a per app per tenant. So not per minute per tenant, but it's per app per tenant. And you have twice the highest resource limit count. And we've actually been fine with increasing that for people. Now, you still have to watch out for 429s. You still have to handle retry after headers because you're working with a cloud service, right? That's just the way that it goes. And so always keep that in mind. Now, we're all working on a bunch of stuff. We're a relatively new product. We've been GA for about a year and a half at this point. And so we're, working on onboarding and DevX. There's some great new stuff. You might have seen it in the message center around that. We have a bunch of AI enhancements that we're working on. So I showed you the basics of AI, but we're also working with Azure AI Foundry. We're working with Copilot Studio, working with a bunch of things there. Steve has been deep in the world of Power Platform connectivity. So if you have a question about how to work with Power Platform and SharePoint Embedded, Steve is your guy. And then we're also going through and working on a bunch of stuff with special environments, whether that's China or GCC High. This Microsoft 365 archive and backup integration is also coming along. It's very interesting. So any of the stuff that you're really interested in, let us know. Now, if you want to get started, this is the easiest video to get to. There's an end-to-end demo video of starting up with a regular developer tenant with a free trial that doesn't cost any money. And so you can go ahead and follow these instructions, and you can essentially have Reid demo running in your local host, right? It does require some basic developer skills, right? Which I'll tell you, I call these basic, but if you haven't done them, it gets kind of confusing. So if you're a developer, probably makes sense. If you're not a developer, this is probably something to work with your developer friend on. And then if you want to go in and get a little bit deeper in here, sorry, I realized I included my LinkedIn, but not the other two's. I'm going to fix that. Sorry, Steve. Sorry, James. But connect with them too, right? But we have tons of stuff on Learn. We have a great thing for getting started with your custom SPE agent and Copilot that I talked about. We have an extensive YouTube playlist. Thank you, Vesa, for your help curating that. We have tons of code samples. We have a 2-minute video you can educate your VPs on, because that's about the attention span. And then we have a really long video if you're interested in learning how to do AI coding assistance and MCP with SharePoint Embedded. It's super fun. And this last email that's down here, this is your email to reach all of us. Okay, this is the end of the presentation, but I feel like I probably missed something. So I don't know, Steve, James, if you want to comment on some of the stuff that's that I missed or anything that's in here. We probably got like 30 seconds or so before we got to switch it over.
Nothing earth-shattering, Reid. Fantastic. Okay. Yep. Active chat.
Get started with SharePoint Embedded. Get started with SharePoint Embedded.
See, this is the energy. I feel like I got to be like a little bit like, hey, what's it going to take to get you in SharePoint Embedded today? But like, it's kind of not the energy I have on a Tuesday morning. But anyway, thank you all so much for having us here. Love coming to this. And if you want more information or a more personalized demo, just reach out. We have lots of stuff going on and we're happy to help. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Reid, thanks, Steve, and thanks, James. Really, really cool stuff. And thank you for handling a lot of the questions in the chat as well. So thank you for that one as well. Really, really great job there. Now, from a timing perspective, we are right on the schedule. Derah, you have max 20 minutes. Can be less than that. We're not expecting to be 20 minutes, but let's transition to your demo related on automating decision-making with AI approvals in Microsoft Copilot Studio. And Derah, you were here last week as well. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome stuff for the customers and partners. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vesa. Good day, everybody. My name is Derah, and I'm a product manager on the Copilot Studio team. I was here last Tuesday, and it's a pleasure to be back here again. Today, we're going to be talking about intelligent or AI approvals in Copilot Studio. This is my LinkedIn as well. Feel free to reach out and ask questions or see how we can enable this product in your company. So first, we now have AI approvals in public preview. So a couple of months ago, actually last month in September, we announced the public preview of AI approvals. So you can check out our blog here on the left, and you can check out the documentation on the right. And please do get started in using it. Of course, later in this session, I'll have a demo. Feel free to open your laptops or a separate screen and follow along when we get to that portion. But first, what are AI approvals? AI approvals are intelligent decision-making steps that are built into multi-stage approval workflows in Copilot Studio. So, in May, we also announced multi-stage approvals where if you're running a business process, you can have it run through multiple different stages or different stakeholders to get their approval. And then, based on those approval decisions, you can make decisions in your organization. But now with multi-stage approvals, instead of having every single approval go to a human stage where a human is making decisions, you can now have it go to an AI stage where at that point, AI is making a decision. So this brings together human and AI collaboration. While building this, you spoke to a lot of chiefs of staff or business admins at the company, and a lot of them are typically inundated with approval requests. But with AI approvals, you can offload some of those more mundane approval requests. So unlike traditional rule-based automation, AI approvals can analyze unstructured data, interpret complex documents, and apply nuanced logic. So you can automate decision-making. You have flexible inputs like text, images, documents, knowledge sources. This slide is a bit outdated because now we support GPT-5 as well as GPT 4.1. You can also bring your own model, and then humans remain fully in control. You can always add what we call manual or human stages, and those stages are where humans can make decisions and veto. So you're not, if you decide not to leave it to the AI system to handle the approval alone, you can always involve humans. And like the last session I did last Tuesday on Human in the Loop, this is where Human in the Loop comes in a lot. So here's the UX for the AI approvals. You can simply provide your prompt or your logic. You can provide documents, text, images, and knowledge. And when you test this, the AI would give you an approval decision. We have 3 approval decisions: approved, reject, or a failure mode. And then whenever any of these results are reached, we give a rationale. So the AI also outputs a rationale so you can understand why it's making that decision. With the advent of reasoning models, this feature becomes a lot more powerful because sometimes approvals may take nuanced logic if they're not just the mundane tasks. Now, if you're familiar with Prompt Builder or AI prompts, you will see that the UX is actually pretty similar. And that's because we worked closely with the Prompt Builder team to integrate their current experience to build AI approvals. So it's a beautiful union between multi-stage approvals and Prompt Builder to create AI approvals. So it's the same goodness that Prompt Builder gets with analyzing documents and knowledge and selecting the models, we also get in AI approvals. Now, what are some benefits of AI approvals? The first one, of course, is time savings. I was telling you, of course, that in building this, spoke to a lot of chiefs of staff, and it's shocking. It's really shocking to see how much time is spent approving like menial or tiny expenses, right? You know, maybe for the larger amounts, humans, of course, need that more nuanced logic to come in. But they're very, very sometimes mundane approvals that people have to focus on, right? And if we can save time for employees, then we can help them focus their time on higher value tasks or higher value work. And that goes to the second point here. And then finally, is cost savings. We see that approving simple invoices or approving simple expenses takes a lot of time. And you know, in business, if you're able to, you know, get invoices out early and all these different approvals out relatively early, sometimes you can get discounts or you can avoid late fees. So instead of taking weeks to handle an approval, an AI approval can handle actually the approval in a matter of seconds. And then finally, reduced errors. If you're having different people approve decisions without clear criteria, oftentimes those different people may make different decisions. But if your logic, your criteria, your instructions to the AI are specific, and that AI can follow those instructions all the time, you would reduce the errors because you're getting consistent results over and over again with the AI system making approvals. Now, I know that some users may not always be comfortable with using AI for approvals, but I'll encourage you to go and try this out for some parts of your simple business process, run your evaluations, see how well it's performing, and then gradually begin to increase the usage of the product. But with that, we'll now dive into a very exciting demo. I know it's exciting. I hope you find it exciting as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare another screen, and we can get started. Just make sure it's the right one. All right. So we are in Copilot Studio. I'll go to the homepage of Copilot Studio, and to show you end to end where to get this. You can, like I said, feel free to follow along if you like to do it right now, but if not, catch up later. But you come here to flows, and in here you see a list of your agent flows. So flows are, if you don't know, flows are automations or AI automations that you can build, and you can attach those to your agents, and you can actually run those standalone. And this feature is inside of the flow, right? You can build this inside of the flow. So when you build this in the flow, you can also attach it to your agent, and your agent can use this at runtime. So I'm first going to build a very, simple, very simple flow that isn't really going to do much, just to show you the capability. And then we'll go into an actual scenario. We built a flow last week, Tuesday, and I'm going to build on top of that flow for you to see how AI approvals can be used in action. So I'm going to just set up a manual trigger just so I can open up the next action. Why is it not letting me click? Okay, perfect. So now after setting up the manual trigger, now I can add the AI approval. So remember last week we covered request for information. Now the sister or brother to request for information is run a multi-stage approval. Like I mentioned, the AI approvals is inside of multi-stage approvals. So when I set this up, I'm able here to start setting up my approval workflow. I can either start with a manual stage. This is what I was talking about, where the approval goes to a human to make a decision, or I can start with an AI stage. So let's start with an AI stage. And in here, just like the UI I showed you in the slide deck, we can begin to configure our AI stage where the AI would make an approval decision. So you can type in a prompt. We have some guidance here on how to write your prompt. You want to be very specific. You want to avoid giving it conflicting information. So let's just start with something very, very simple and has no business consequence. I'll just say approve if 2 equals to 2. Right here, you can see I can select my model, right? I can select GPT-4.1 as basic all the way to O3 premium and GPT-5 reasoning. So in this case, just for the sake of speed, I'm going to go with GPT-4.1. And look at that. We've been able to get an approval decision. It said approved and the condition, and it gives us the reason. The condition specified in the instructions is approved. if 2 equals to 2, since 2 is equal to 2, the condition is met and the approval is granted. All right, let's try something else. Approve if 2 equals to 3. Awesome. And once again, we get another approval decision. So it's as simple as writing a prompt to get a decision. And as expected, we got rejected. And now remember, I told you there's another state of approvals, and that's the failure mode. Now, sometimes when you're writing these prompts, you can give conflicting information. For example, you could say approve if the amount is less than 500. But then in the same prompt, you can write approve if the amount is greater than, or approve if the amount is say less than 500, and then approve if it is greater than, or reject if it's greater than 300. If the amount is 400, those two criteria conflict. So the AI is not, it's not going to be able to make a correct decision on that. So it's going to have a failure mode. Similarly, for things that are a bit subjective, it's not going to, it's going to give a failure mode. So let's give something that is really subjective. I'll say approve if Versa is the best. Now, I'm sure all of us on the call know that this should really be approved because we know Versa, but we don't. The AI doesn't know that. So you can see right here that it's given a failure mode. Instructions fail to produce a proper approval decision because the approval of Versa is the best is ambiguous and subjective. So you want to make sure that your prompts are specific, structured, and then in here as well, whenever it fails, we've given you a link to check out best practices for the prompts in our documentation. So this shows you how to write all your prompts correctly. You will also notice down here that we have next steps based on decision. And here we're building an entire multi-stage approval workflow. So I can always add other stages. I can add a manual stage. So in here, in a manual stage, I can send it to a human. So I can specify in here the human it's going to go to and provide all the details. And if I come back to the AI stage, I can say, okay, if the AI approves, I still want it to go to the manual stage. Or if the AI rejects, I still want it to go to the manual stage or just end it as rejected. And if it fails, I could ask it to go to the manual stage or approved or rejected. And you can build multiple different stages in here. So you can build multiple different AI stages that handle different things. One use case we've seen is that sometimes the AI would be the first gate, check if there's any fraud or any issues. And if there isn't, if it approves, the process continues. If it's rejected, it's rejected. So you can build really, complex approval workflows here and send it to different stages based on the decisions, right? And like I said, the humans remain in control. So even if the AI makes a decision and you kick it to another stage where a human's at, that human has the power to veto the decision. Humans remain in control. Now, we showed a simple, just a simple non-business critical approval. Now let's look at this in context of a real business process. So remember that we last week, if you haven't caught up on that recording, feel free to go back. We discussed the request for information action. So we have here a flow that is called by an agent. This is a device request flow. So if an employee is requesting a device, if the amount is greater than a particular, if the device costs greater than a particular amount, we check that needs a manager approval or manager input. We send a request to the manager to get that input. And then based on all the information that's provided, now we've built in here an approval, we've built in here a device approval. So let's look at what this device approval contains. Awesome. So you can see that this prompt now is a bit more complex than the last one. We've said, first of all, we've asked the AI to check if if it needs manager input. Now, if it needs manager input, we're telling it to follow these criteria. But if it doesn't need manager input, it should just look at the employee business justification and look at the justifications document. Now, if it does need manager's inputs, we're asking it to follow this criteria. So in here, this is just a testing phase. And after we build this and we go outside to the rest of the flow, we can now begin to map these inputs to the right places. So in here, I've said that needs manager input is yes. The employee business justification is required for client contract. Let's say required for large government contract. And I'm telling it to approve if it is similar to an appropriate justification written in this document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a document from my device, and you can see this is a real life document. Let me zoom out a little bit. This is a real life document. So the AI is going to reason over this document and make an approval decision. And then when we test, it's going to come back with a decision, right? So it's first said the device. So remember, we said the needs manager input is yes. So it's going to go down here and look, okay, it's going to then think and reject if any of these criteria is met. And in here, it said the vendor quote, we've listed it as $3,400, exceeds $2,000. So it requires a rejection. So you can see that with a prompt, no matter how simple, no matter how complex, you can build approvals with AI that when the flow or the automation runs, the AI can handle decision making. All right, let's now save this. I'll just cancel. And then now in the flow, let's test this and see this in action. So I'm going to run the flow manually. I've actually run it in the past, so I'm just going to use a test run. And we're going to see that when all that information, the context is passed into the flow, the flow is going to run. So it's now at this needs manager input step. Because no manager input is needed, it's skipped. It's now coming to the AI approval. And look at that. We see it took relatively 0 seconds to have this approved. And we see the outcome here. We see the final outcome. We see the condition. Okay, because the decision is approved, we're going to send the approval email to the requester. Now, one thing we're building in, like now, we've actually is rolling out is we want a way to be able to consume all the outputs of this multi-stage approval. So every single decision the AI made and all the rationale, everything, and consume it, and you can store it anywhere you want. In the meantime, however, if you go to Power Automate in the AI Builder activity, you can actually see, let me refresh. You can actually see the run of that AI approval. So you can see here that these are the inputs that we provided. Remember, we typed in this text, essential for very important government contract, all these different things. And then the output was approved, and the rationale was this: the request does not require manager input. The employee's business justification for important government contract aligns with business justification. So in a matter of seconds, this has come in, it's been approved, and people can go about their day running their business processes, and everybody can save time, save costs, and have more accurate decision making in their agents and automations. That's AI approvals. Go check it out. Thank you.
Excellent. Awesome demo, Derah. Once again, awesome stuff. Really, really cool. Thank you for the reference point. And excellent stuff to get shared with the customers and partners. So thank you for that. Now, a few questions in the chat. Let's follow up on those, but I think it's time to close up the call as well. So really, really cool. It's clear that we shouldn't have 3 demos. 3 demos is not necessarily a good thing because then we would be always rushing. 2 demos is a good for this call. So we're trying to balance that out a bit in the future as well. But thank you, Steve. Thank you, Reid. Thank you, James. We missed you there first, but luckily David fixed the slide for me. And thank you, Derah, for the great demo as well. Awesome stuff on today. Now, next week, we're going to have a call on 21st, again on Tuesday, every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And next week, the demos will be done by Paolo Pialorosi on consuming an MCP server in Copilot Studio. Really, really cool thing. And then I'm going to talk about getting started with SharePoint agents. We did an introduction a few weeks back, if you saw that one. And then getting started, actually, we start creating those custom agents with SharePoint UX, because SharePoint is the easiest way to create your Copilot agent by far. And then the next step is Copilot Studio Lite, and then Copilot Studio. Again, there's this kind of a journey on how to get started. But if we only want to have an agent which is around to document information, you can actually create them within a SharePoint with a click of a button. Now, if you want to evolve that, then that's a separate discussion. We're going to talk about all of those limits next Tuesday, in 21st of October. Anyway, In the meanwhile, we do have our office Discord server. So if you are in the Discord and you want to engage with other people in the community, we are closing into 3,000 members in the Discord server in here. And so please engage there. There's multiple channels and discussions there as well. AKMS Community Discord is the location for that. We are always looking also for feedback, interested on your input related on how we can improve these calls, and also to be able to justify these calls for our management chain and leadership. It's good to have that input from you as an attendee as well. Now, the recording will be available within 24 hours in our YouTube channel at AKMS Community YouTube. You want to subscribe there today so you know when the video is available. We have LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Twitter. All of those are functioning and working. And the next call is on October 21st at 8 a.m. Pacific time. But that's it for now. All of the calls you can find from AKMS Community Calls URL. Power Platform monthly community call tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and then a community demos call on Thursday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. See you in those calls, or see you next week in the Tuesday call. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you one more time for great presenters today. We'll be back. Cheers. Bye-bye.